This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. It is a beautiful Friday here in Pittsburgh, and Mike Tomlin is not ready. He says he knows who he's going to start,
Yep.
but he's not telling anybody.
I bet a couple people know.
More than a couple. Yeah.
And I think we have some pretty strong hunches.
George Pickens talked about it after practice. He said, this is going to be exciting because it's his first start. Well, it's not Justin Fields' first start. It's not George's first start. It's Russell Wilson's first
Pickens
start.
isn't real good at hiding things, apparently. That's funny.
Regardless of what it is, whether it's his anguish on the sideline,
right.
his anger issue. Yeah, he just doesn't.
No secret safe for that guy. So, no, I think you and I have thought all week that this would be the Wilson week, and
yeah.
I totally get it. It's the move I would make. I'm excited to see it as much as anything, just the fan in me and how much different things look. And, again, folks, I still really like Fields. I don't know why I have to say that all week long, but I still really like Fields. He's done a lot of good things here, but I think Wilson gives him a better chance to win.
I do too, and this is not going to be an easy game to win. This is a good Jets team that has kind of been a little in flux.
There's been a lot of games lately where I've said, this is a good time to play the Cowboys, or this is a terrible time to play the Jets, in my opinion. I think they're desperate.
I think they are desperate.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Much like the Cowboys were desperate 2 weeks ago.
And I guess the Colts were too.
Yeah.
They were in bad shape.
But I do think in terms of new coaching staff, or not necessarily new coaching staff,
but shuffling.
But guys having different roles, things of that nature, just getting Devontae Adams in the building, as we talked about earlier in the week with the travel schedule that they've had.
I think that's a little odd for an older team too. To not have a bye after an overseas game is weird, and then it's a short week right after.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit of a hangover.
Yeah, so
effect.
The Jets did play Monday night as well, so you're kind of getting them on a short week and with travel and everything. So in regards to that, it's not a bad time to play the Jets.
Well, where I was going with it is the desperation. And I'd have rather played him without Adams.
Well, there's that.
Last week or whatever, as opposed to, I'd rather play them this week than next week.
That's where I was going. Right. I don't know if I want to play them 3 weeks from now when they've kind of figured everything out.
It wouldn't shock me if they do figure things out and become a playoff team. Win or loss with this game. But if they lose, they're in a really bad hole.
They really are.
Really bad hole.
And sometimes that matters in terms of when you have a good team or what should be a good team in desperation mode, you get their best punch.
Yeah. They definitely have good players.
Yeah.
Are they a good team? I don't know. Are they capable of being a good team on any given Sunday? I absolutely think so. I'm not a huge believer in the interim coach bump or any of that stuff. I think I look at the coach and be like, he's never coached before. He may get them wound up, but game day doesn't.
And the interim coach
him.
is always somebody who was on staff who was also part of the issue.
Right, exactly.
You just don't know.
You didn't grab Vince Lombardi off the street, to get things ready in a couple days.
They couldn't hire Belichick because Belichick wouldn't go to the Jets. He took another shot at them, by the way.
Did he since then?
Oh yeah. With the just kind of the look. This is just the dysfunction of the Jets, basically.
Yeah. No, I know he's felt that way every step of the way, as has a lot of people in the know. But I think they're a really dangerous team.
No, there's no doubt they're a dangerous team. But I think the Steelers are a much more dangerous team with Russell Wilson at quarterback and Alex Highsmith.
I think Highsmith coming back is huge. Tyron Smith has struggled. He's going to be single on whoever it is. Being single against Highsmith is a lot different than being single on Moon.
Yeah.
It's just night and day difference.
Night and day.
Yeah.
And, it gets the gang back together for the Steelers pass rushers up front. I don't think it was a coincidence that the Steelers, and I mentioned this to Alex as we were leaving the locker room last week. I'm like, well, they finally showed they could win a game without you. They were 0-2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no doubt. Watt's extremely hard to play for, but play against, but he's always going to get massive amounts of attention.
Yeah.
You need the compliment.
I don't think it's a coincidence either that, that the last two games they haven't had Herbig or Highsmith on the edge on the other side.
You need one of them.
And TJ doesn't have a sack in those two games.
Absolutely.
Because all the attention goes there.
Right, 100%. And you can still beat the Raiders that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can.
Because they had to designate three guys to stop TJ Watt. And that's what it was. It was three freaking guys every play.
And then Colton Miller versus Moon or whoever, the right outside linebacker, is one of the matchups that absolutely favored Vegas.
Yeah. We talked about it last week. And so now you got to pick your poison with this Steelers pass rush. And I know that, Aaron Rodgers is getting the ball out the second fastest of any quarterback in the league this year.
And he recognizes things,
but he's still been sacked 11 times the last three and hit 26 times the last 3 weeks. I mean,
I don't think he evades it as well as he used to either.
Getting it out that quickly and still getting hit and sacked that much
it's a bad
typically
sign.
Doesn't line up.
Yeah, it's a bad sign. It absolutely is. And I think this will be as good a pass rush as he sees. This is a healthy, lethal front. And just coincidentally, I was listening to a podcast and I saw an article about just people ranking D lines. And they both had the Steelers one, and I 100% agree. I'm including Watt and Highsmith, of course. Defensive fronts. I think that's the best one you'll see in the league.
And I think Breece Hall's a handful.
Yes.
But I think the Steelers' run defense, with all those guys on the field, is obviously much better than it is without them. Because I think Highsmith and Watt are two of the best edge setters in the league.
Yeah,
in the run game.
What Watt does in the run game is remarkable.
It's unbelievable. It might be better than what he does in the pass.
It has been the last few games, which is still, an A or an A plus, basically. Cam's been unbelievable. The D line as a whole has been quite good. I think the linebackers are getting better and better. I showed you yesterday that 3 of the top 5 run defenders in the league, according to Pro Football Focus, are Steelers. Watt, Highsmith for sure. Who was the other?
It was Watt, Hayward, and
Hayward for
and
sure.
Landon Roberts.
And Roberts. Okay, yeah, that makes sense too. He is a thumper.
I just want how much is Landon Roberts on the field in this particular game?
I don't know. I don't think it matters much, but I just read 5 minutes ago that Mike Williams is going to play. He was back at practice today. Now, I don't know if he's even the 3. I assume that's Lazard.
They just want to show him off for the Steelers. Okay?
Maybe. Let him run a few sprints and leave him here. But
Mike, why don't you go warm up, and then you can go over the other sideline, and we'll consummate that trade. We just didn't want you playing against us.
Right. It was just you can hang out and go in that locker room when you're done. But I do think you see 3 receivers on the field a lot.
I do too.
Adams and Wilson and whoever else, probably Lazard.
And to that point, I looked this up today because I've been wondering about this all week. So thus far this season, Devontae Adams, 38 snaps in the slot, 96 out wide. Now, that was with the Raiders.
Yeah.
So I went.
But he's capable.
Looked at his last season in Green Bay, which was a few years ago. 194 snaps in the slot, 388 on the outside. They'll move him around.
Yeah.
Wilson this year, 87 snaps in the slot, 167 out wide. So about
2 to 1.
2 to 1, and then Lazard this season, 116 in the slot, 125 outside.
I think he's
so they can move those 3 guys around,
which makes them more dangerous.
Yeah,
if there's a matchup they like, or they realize Porter's not going to the slot, or I want to get this guy on Bishop or whoever, they're very capable of doing that. I wonder. Of course, Adams can do it. We've seen countless times in his career where he could do it, but I just wonder if he knows enough to move around. He might always be the left outside receiver this week.
Potentially,
who knows?
But they are going to try to use him. I wouldn't be surprised, to see Aaron Rodgers try to force feed him.
Oh yeah,
at times, including in the red zone.
Oh, and I would think contested catch balls, back shoulder. I'm going to put it up there. I trust you. I love you. Go make a play.
Yeah.
All right.
And again, sometimes this season we've seen Rodgers his mind has written checks that his body can't cash anymore.
Yeah.
Not like they used to.
Not like they used to. He will force things a little more and doesn't have quite as much zip or quite as much extend play, certainly not as much extend play capabilities. And he isn't bashful.
He's not bashful. He never has been.
No. The day he starts turning down throws, I bet he's like, I'm done with this game. Go host Jeopardy.
But the 5 interceptions this season, already. He's had seasons where he didn't throw 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
Seasons.
I think he went like 20-some games in a row without a home interception,
yeah.
At Green Bay, like crazy stuff.
Yeah, he's just been one of the most accurate quarterbacks of all time, and I don't think that's and some of it's the receivers, and he's not been shy about throwing receivers under the bus and offensive linemen under the bus and the head coach under the bus and, the bus under the bus. He'll throw anybody under the bus. But it's an interesting matchup. We're going to have two of the best quarterbacks in terms of taking care of the football.
Yeah, over history.
In NFL history are going to be playing in this game Sunday night.
Yeah, in terms of, again, it blows me away that Wilson's still 3. But Mahomes and Rodgers the best touchdown-interception ratio ever. That 100% adds up. You know, back in the 70s, they threw too many interceptions, and, that's a new quarterback type of stat. But Wilson's 3. He understands how to get the ball in the end zone and how not to turn it over through the air. He has fumbled, over his career, but he does not throw a lot of interceptions. Yeah,
no, it should be interesting. We're going to take a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the phone line, the Justin Miller hotline. As we are every Friday, by Missi Matthews, Steelers sideline reporter. And Missy, that crowd last week in Vegas might have been the most pro-Steeler road crowd I think I've ever seen.
It sure looked like it. A high percentage, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't think that they could outdo last year's Vegas crowd just because, first time the Steelers were playing in Allegiant Stadium, but somehow, some way, they sure did it this year.
It's about the worst kept secret going, but it sure looks like Russell Wilson's going to be the starter. What have you seen from him so far, just being around him, and how do you think that changes things?
I think he's the same guy that he was, who was like team first, wants to be a leader for this team when the Steelers got him in March. Before OTAs and minicamp started, he had a number of guys go out to his house in San Diego just to get to know them. It was more about the dinners and whatnot. I know Pat Freiermuth was one of those guys, Connor Hayward, Calvin Austin. And then after they went through OTAs and minicamp and some new pieces were also added, he did it again before they went to Latrobe for training camp. And I just think, even though he has not been able to help them on the field physically, he is a very involved individual on the sideline, whether he's starting or not. Even in the preseason, he was like that. Of course, he played, a few series in that last game in Detroit. But I think in terms of trying to be a leader and trying to rally the troops, he's done that from day one.
Missy, it seems like there's a huge disconnect between the perception of Russell Wilson and who he has been and what I've seen thus far in Pittsburgh. I see a lot of people who've been around him in the past. Well, he's phony. He's this. He's that. I've seen none of that. He seems like a pretty genuine guy to me. And as you said, a team player. I just don't see this. I don't understand some of the vitriol towards this guy.
And a true professional, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely the true professional. I was joking with Minka Fitzpatrick a few weeks ago and said, hey, do you still have your office upstairs? And he used to share that office with Kenny Pickett. He said, yeah. He's like, Russ moved in the day he got here, So they have their Tuesdays together and, their little nook. I've never physically seen it, but from what I understand, it's not big, but that's okay. It's just to watch film and whatnot. But yeah, I just think, I don't know, maybe it is weird to me in the sense that people were so excited when the Steelers signed him, and they were excited about him going into training camp, and then he got hurt. And then I think, the shiny new toy, you saw Justin Fields and what he was able to do, and maybe people had no expectations for him because it was pretty clear that, as Coach Tomlin called it, the pole position is what Russell Wilson had. So then I don't know if maybe they, got a little preview of what Fields can do. And I think, the way he uses his legs, it's an X factor, as Coach Tomlin said. There's no denying that. That's not something you typically have seen in Pittsburgh since Cordell Stewart. So I think that maybe that played into it, but agree. I think every teammate is very fond of him, not even just the offensive guys, but defense as well.
Yeah, we get a lot of blowback if, we prefer Wilson or would go to Wilson. Of course, it's not our decision, but a lot of people are rough on the two of us and other people in the media for saying Fields isn't our favorite. I don't quite get it.
Yeah, I think, maybe because we've been tormented through some quarterback stuff the past few years after Ben Roethlisberger retired. I don't know if, last year it was sticking with Mason, even though Kenny was healthy, but I agree with what Mike Tomlin said on Tuesday. This is a completely different animal. These are completely different quarterbacks. I think as soon as Mitch Trubisky went in, people wanted Mason and didn't get Mason soon enough while Kenny was still, getting healthy. But yeah, I don't know. I could probably go either way because I do think, okay, you're building momentum. You got the run game going last week in Vegas, but I kind of want to see what Russell Wilson really looks like in the Steelers offense because, Detroit didn't really count. They weren't playing their starters. It was the third preseason game. And I think he really was just craving like real action after finally being able to work back into practices of training camp.
Yeah, and I think everybody loves a good quarterback controversy, and I get it. And that's why it's been a talking point across the league. But I don't think, I've seen things like guys in the Steelers locker room are up in arms and people within the organization are up in arms, and I haven't seen any of that.
No, and I mean, first of all, I don't think they would show it publicly if that was the case, but I agree. I think it's a genuine, everybody knew what both of those guys brought because they were able to experience both of them in training camp in the off season. And I think the way that they act towards each other is also very telling. There is no not speaking to each other, not helping. There's no riffs. I could tell you some that I've seen in past years of guys not particularly liking each other in that room, but those two guys are definitely, that's not the case. And I think the way that we heard Justin Fields speak yesterday, the self-reflection of almost saying if I did well enough, we wouldn't be having this conversation. This wouldn't matter. And I think that's part of that's true. And I think it's also the reason why Coach Tomlin left the depth chart alone, didn't change it, and wouldn't box himself into saying, hey, when Russ is healthy, it's his team again.
That's the thing. We've seen him in previous situations even just put an or beside that.
Yeah.
This guy or that guy, if there's some kind of question about it. And that was never the case here.
No, it wasn't. And I'm not really surprised just because of I don't want to say what this competition was, but I think he put him in the pole position. It wasn't he's QB1. He gave himself a little room. And then I think it was also just what if Justin Fields went 6-0 and was just lighting it up? Then you probably are thinking differently about the situation. But I think no matter if he named the starter on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, even if he would come out and say it tomorrow, when it happens on Sunday, someone's going to be mad about it. And it didn't matter which guy he went with.
So the Steelers didn't need a lot from Jaylen Warren to beat the Raiders, and Najee was tremendous. But did you see last week as kind of a knock the rust off period and then get Warren back to the player he was last year?
Yeah, I do think so. And not that I don't think they rushed him by any means. Mm-hmm. I know Jaylen was chomping at the bit to get out there, but I think it was almost, riding the hot hand. Najee was running angry like we saw last year in Seattle, and it was working. And I think, Jaylen's coming off a few injuries and had to miss some time, but I do think that they are expecting and hopeful that he'll go back to, being part of the 1-2 punch of you never kind of know what you're going to get from each guy. And maybe he's mixed in a little bit more this week.
Yeah, he's kind of been out of sight, out of mind a little bit for this first part of the season. He's only had one game with more than 50 total yards, and he had 12 of those last year. I expect a bigger dose of Jaylen in this game. And I think, honestly, I expect Russell Wilson to unlock some things in the passing game that just really haven't been there. And it's, again, I'm not knocking Justin Fields at all, but I just think there's a bigger trust factor there with Wilson and the coaching staff, simply because he's as Mike Tomlin likes to say, a been there, done that kind of guy.
Yeah, he has the resume. I mean, you guys were at training camp every single day, even go back to OTs and minicamp. I mean, you saw his arm. Even when he was hurt and not able to play, he would still show off his arm. Even in Atlanta, he was throwing bombs. And he clearly wasn't starting. He was the emergency quarterback with that week 1 right after he got re-injured with the calf. I do think so, and maybe it helps, get the Calvin Austins, Pat Freiermuth. I think we've all been waiting for him to be a larger part of this offense. I think obviously he's very clutch in the red zone, has been his whole career and so far this year, but I think you can do more with him as well. And hopefully, you know, if Russ gets to go on Sunday, which I think we're all in agreement is going to happen, we're able to see the passing game pick up. But I also, you know, think too, hey, this Jets defense is it's pretty good.
It's good.
So, and I know, there's some guys that their status is up in the air, but they're still a good defense.
Missy, I was flat out concerned about Patrick Queen after a couple games, and I think you have to realize that they put a ton on his plate. He's the green dot guy. He's out there every snap, learning a new system, communicating to others. But he's really turned a corner for me, and now I think he's a strength to the defense. What's his demeanor like on game day? Have you seen a difference in him since the early part of the season? What kind of communicator is he? Give us some Queen updates.
I mean, I think that he has been the same throughout. I think maybe it's just he's more comfortable. I mean, he knew when he signed here what the magnitude of the deal was that he signed and what it meant in Pittsburgh. It was not big shoppers and free agency. I think also, as you said, it's almost getting used to the communication, not that he wasn't. That was handed to him day one. But then I think, too, you know, there were some moving parts with various positions, and that sometimes plays into it. But I think he took it personally when everybody was talking about the communication breakdowns on the defense between, you know, the front and the back and how things were, just those splash plays, those chunk plays that were happening, and everyone's looking around like, wait, who had that guy? How did that happen? And I think he just has that fierce mentality. Kind of reminds me of TJ Watt, where, like, you know, you step between the white lines and you're a different human being. He brings that. And I think he also is just very respected by his teammates. And I think, you know, between him, Deshaun Elliott, and Dante Jackson, those guys have really started to gel and form, obviously, a ferocious defense when they're on point with the TJ Watts, Minkas, Cam Haywards, and the guys that were already there.
Well, Missy, we'll get the 1974 alumni game here this weekend as well. With that crew coming in, we'll get to see the throwback uniforms. Lots of stuff to see there on the field this week. I would expect a nice crowd for this one, and it should be fun.
Oh, yeah, and the gray face masks. I'm a big fan of that. Even in practice, they look good.
I said somebody need to wear the little Terry Bradshaw, like the one that just covered his nose, like the little two little bars. Maybe Boswell could do that.
It's amazing people thought that was a good idea for that. Yeah.
Yes. That sounds like a fine waiting, but maybe for warm-ups, you know, just to wear the dark visor for warm-ups.
Yeah. Our guest has been Missi Matthews, Steelers sideline reporter. Missy, we'll see you at the game on are you doing the alumni dinner doing anything for that?
Nope, I wasn't invited to that, but I will be there on Sunday.
We'll see you Sunday then. Should be a fun night, and enjoy watching a little football Sunday in the morning and early afternoon as well.
I sure will. All right, guys, we'll see you Sunday night.
All right, that's Missi Matthews, a Steelers sideline reporter. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, Matt, we have an injury report here for the Jets.
Okay. I haven't seen today's.
Michael Carter, who is their nickel corner, did not practice again today. He is out for Sunday's game. That's a back issue. DJ Reed with the groin did not practice again today. He's questionable. He ain't playing.
Doesn't look like it.
No, he didn't practice all week long. Yeah. You're not playing in the game on Sunday night. Tyler Conklin, he was limited on Wednesday and Thursday, got a full practice in today. He's dealing with a hip issue. He's questionable to play, as is linebacker Chaz Surratt. He full participant yesterday and today. He is also listed as questionable. No injury designation for Devontae Adams. The hands of God have come down, and he has been healed.
Okay. The hamstring's going to be all right, huh?
Yes, he has been healed. Will McDonald with the shoulder injury, who's their best pass rusher. He was a full participant today. No injury designation for him.
Okay.
No injury designation for Morgan Moses, Aaron Rodgers, Tyron Smith, and Mike Williams getting back on the football field today. Not injury-related. That was a personal issue for him. A personal issue may have been Aaron Rodgers throwing him under the bus
Yeah, I thought there was a good chance he was not going to play in this game and get traded before kickoff.
That could still
which
happen.
I guess
mean,
he
could just be inactive, and they trade him. But you never know what's going to happen between now and then. Maybe somebody gets hurt and walk through, and all of a sudden now you need Mike Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the two cornerbacks is concerning for the Jets.
Yeah, real quick on Conklin. I mean, obviously his target share is going to go down probably drastically.
I would
He's
think.
an okay blocker. I don't know if you rush him back for this one, but he is a quality player. With there are 2 and 3 corners out. I'm just going to jump to that conclusion. Would you play more 11? It's not really what the Steelers do.
It's not, but here's the thing: like, who are they putting on the field? Even if you put 12 out there,
they'll probably live in nickel, I would think.
So that doesn't. You're getting their third corner on the field anyways.
Yeah, I should know that. I don't know if they would counter with 3 safeties, nickel, like a big nickel.
But they're down a safety. Chuck Smith.
Yeah, that would probably be
Clark
Clark's situation.
Yeah. So I mean, they're a little. That's
that
secondary, which is it's a good secondary.
It is when healthy and
when
right
healthy,
and everything. Yeah.
I mean, they're giving up 148.8 passing yards per game. Now, some of that was because they played the Patriots in Denver. In back-to-back games. That didn't hurt.
The worst passing games in the league.
And Bo Nix had -7 yards.
That was against
passing
them.
At halftime without being sacked.
It's just amazing.
He had -7 passing yards in a half.
Until last night,
on
they
7
were
completions. It's really hard to do.
the Browns to have the worst passing game in the league.
Really hard to do. But, 148.8 passing yards per game that they allow. So, folks, I'm just telling you that if the Steelers don't throw for a bunch of yards this week, it's not necessarily Russell Wilson. It's the Jets' defense. Now, again, there are some things built in here that you'd think that maybe might make that a little bit easier. But this has been one of the top passing defenses in the league.
No, yeah, and has been for years. I mean, it's a very good group. It's a very talented group.
They've given up 4 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I remember that too. It's pretty darn good. Again, though, their 2 best second and third best cover guy are out though. And if you do want to get Austin and Jefferson a little more involved, maybe you want to play out of 11, or it doesn't mean you can't run the ball out of 11.
Right.
I don't know. I think it'll be interesting mixed with the Clark injury. What personnel groups do you get? I mean, because Freiermuth detaches a lot anyway.
Yeah.
They may look at him as he's more receiver than blocker.
Or maybe that second tight end is Hayward. And Russell Wilson
Pruitt's a new addition
loves
too.
Connor Hayward. Every time Russell Wilson talks to the media and he starts talking about the pass catchers, he starts talking about what a smart player Connor Hayward is, what a weapon he could be. He was one of the guys that went both times with him to San Diego, to the West Coast, and worked out with him.
So I fully realize Hayward's a absolute key special teamer. But I've been a little underwhelmed this year as an offensive contributor. Like, maybe he's just a square peg, round hole type of guy. But you've talked a lot this week about, a quarterback might unleash Austin or Jefferson or somebody like that. Maybe Hayward's one of those dudes where he gets
I actually
double the production.
Looked this up this morning, Matt. The receivers for the Steelers, wide receivers for the Steelers, not named George Pickens, in the first 6 games, 4 catches, 3 catches, 6 against
collectively.
Collectively as a group, 6 against the Chargers. 3 catches, 5 catches, 2 catches. You're going to see a spike in that.
It's not going to be 2.
Yeah, it's not going to be 2. These guys, 6 or more catches from the other receivers, I think, is going to become the norm moving forward.
Maybe that's going to be one of your keys.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe that could be one of your
keys. That might be why I looked something like that up.
Yep.
Because, again, in this week, I think that would be critical because if Sauce Gardner does happen to travel with George Pickens like we think could happen.
I think it'd be crazy if he doesn't.
With these, the only thing about it is that he just hasn't done it.
Right.
They haven't asked him to do it since he came into the league.
Maybe he says, I don't like one side of the field.
Yeah,
like a left tackle, right tackle.
And if that's
the
case, then I'm lining Pickens up on the other side all the time.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'd demand a lot of attention, but it's still against lesser players.
Yeah.
That will be that's a key too. I mean, I guess their whole secondary interests me. The immediate thing is Sauce traveling. I'm probably putting George in motion the first play, and is Sauce going with him or not?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Let's see it right off the bat. And then, okay, we're going to go, as they always do, 12, 13, 11, with all these different tight end combinations.
Yeah, let's see what they put out there.
And what's our best bet here in terms of attacking either their replacement nickel corner, Eccles, or the other outside guy, or are we running against nickel with big people and they haven't adjusted? That's going to be a big key to this one too.
Yeah,
because I do think Chuck Clark's important.
I do too. I think he's a good
really
player.
Good communicator too, and people raved about him in Baltimore, and he has value as well.
Sauce Gardner's good, but I'm not going to shy away from going after him at times because he's not been a big interception. Now, some of this interception stuff is because he just doesn't give up many catches, but he's more of a pass breakup guy than he is an interceptor.
I would treat him more.
He's not Surtain.
I was going to treat him like Surtain, is what I was about to say. I mean, they went after Surtain.
They did.
With Pickens.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I would go after him a ton with Austin or Jefferson.
Gardner has two career interceptions.
Yeah. I mean, he's more of a shutdown length type of guy than tremendous ball skills. Dion take it to the house.
He's
type
more.
of guy,
He's more Joey Porter like.
They have a lot of similarities.
If you throw them the ball directly, they're going to pick it off. But are they going to?
I don't know. They baits quarterbacks and things like that. Like Dion was so good at that. Or or some of those guys.
I mean, I saw Woodson do it back in the day. Just bait the quarterback into a throw. I mean, he is a great cover guy. He might be the best cover guy in the league.
Yeah.
But he's not somebody who takes the ball away.
Not a lot, no. And his length is great. He's got really fluid, oily hips for such a tall, angular guy, and he plays hard. I could take or leave Hard Knocks at times, but I really got a kick out of watching Wilson and Sauce battle it out in those camp battles. You could tell their competitiveness and respect for each other. I mean, he's a player everybody would love to have, but if Pickens had success against Surtain, that doesn't mean I can't throw him the ball against Sauce.
The other thing I want to see a lot of is I want to see Darnell Washington on Will McDonald's side a lot and just beat him up.
Yeah.
Especially in the run game. I mean, he's 235 pounds trying to set the edge.
Yeah. He doesn't have a lot of sand in his pants.
No.
I mean, his
Push
waist
him around.
is small, and he's lean, and he's built for speed.
Especially when Gardner is on that side of the – if he does happen to travel, I want to run at both of those guys.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. He's come off the ball at a almost 300-pound tight end. I don't even know what he's listed at, but I've seen him in person.
He's a monster.
And he's a large human being. He might have 50 pounds on McDonald.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's an exaggeration at all.
But he also has the quicks to get him.
Yeah.
Some offensive linemen are a little more. And I don't know that Broderick Jones is that. He does have the ability to slide and move. But I want to just beat him up. I want to beat him up. He's already dealing with a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
I'm going to run at him, and I want to make their guys
slow his pass rush a little bit too.
I want to make their guys in the secondary tackle.
Yeah, I'd like to get him a little slower out of his stance.
Yeah.
And you can run at Gardner too. I mean, he'll duck his head, and he's got long arms and a big catching radius, but he's not super physical in the run game either.
Yeah.
I don't know about the backups, but their other corners didn't love tackling.
They're
either.
untested guys.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I want to test them.
No doubt.
And
No question.
I think that's one of the reasons why you make the quarterback change here. I said to somebody today, if they were fully healthy, they being the Jets in their secondary, what would the over-under have been for passing yards for the Steelers in this game with Fields at quarterback? It might have been just a complete. Let's just run the football.
Yeah, right.
I mean, 145 last week against the Raiders.
Right.
And they had basically
under 150.
They basically had to manufacture the last 31 of that on a ball. They're already up 24 points, and they threw a bomb to Pickens.
Yeah. It would be low.
It would be low.
It would be very low.
This is a team that gives up less than 150 per game.
Protection worries me. I mean, especially up the middle with a new center, and protection absolutely worries me. So I don't know that you're going to be taking tons of big, long developing plays deep. They'll take shots, and hopefully they hit them more than they have. But it'll be more max protect and that
max
type of
protect
stuff,
into
right?
play action. And,
Yeah. Maybe keep Washington and Najee in, or
one of these things where you just sell it like you sell some of your run plays. You can see the play action out of 12 personnel. And I think, again, that's why you maybe use a little more 12 personnel. You can block it up a little bit better.
That's an Arthur Smith thing, too.
Yeah.
Is selling run versus play, or run versus pass, making it look a lot like, right at the beginning.
So
off and off play action.
Yeah, I expect to see that and take those shots and make it happen.
Yeah. No, can't wait. I mean, there are some matchups here that definitely scare me. I think the secondary situation, Sauce aside, is favorable, though. And I do think he'll be on Pickens a lot, but doesn't mean you can't attack the secondary.
Yeah.
in multiple ways. Like he'd run the ball too.
It could be a Calvin Austin getting behind somebody that, again, maybe a double move with Calvin Austin, or just let him fly. Just go deep.
And maybe Jefferson catches 4 for 60.
He's certainly
3
capable.
for first downs.
We just haven't seen it this year. Again, it's one of the reasons this, throughout training camp, I was higher on Jefferson, I think, than the people who hadn't been at training camp. I'm like, I'm seeing him every day catching passes left and right against the Steelers defense. And then we get into the season and we're 6 games into this and he has 8 catches.
Nowhere to be found,
Yeah. He's better than that.
He's better than an 8-catch player. There's no question about that.
Yeah. So I think those numbers go up. And again, 4, 3, 6, 3, 5, and 2. I think 6.
All the others.
Yeah, 6 moving forward will be your.
Maybe that's your over/under line.
Yeah, because I just think they're better than that.
So we don't know any more Roman Wilson news, huh?
No, we still haven't. We're waiting on the Steelers injury report here. That should be coming out soon, but we'll see.
I don't know how he'd get in the top 3 either way though this week.
Yeah,
Especially if Pruitt's back, that might be even less receiver out there. Who knows?
Yeah, and it just might be one of these games that he wasn't going to be featured. I mean, he played, 5 snaps last week?
4 or 5, right, yeah.
It's tough to get on the moving train when you're a young guy like that and you miss practices. It just is.
It is. Missing one practice this week, it could be enough for him not to get ahead.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah,
for Mike Tomlin has always lived by that rule with young players. If you miss Friday's practice as a young player, you ain't playing.
Yeah, I have no clue what he did today, but I'm just saying, even if he was returned today and missed Thursday, and I have to give a hat to Pruitt.
I don't recall seeing him out there today.
Okay.
So let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, it is now time here, kicking off hour number 2 for the Fantasy Football Focus. And let's try to pick guys who are actually going to play the entire game this week.
That's a problem in fantasy for everybody this year, is getting guys to play 60 minutes. I mean, it's brutal. Too many 0s and 1s from guys leaving early in games.
Yeah, we would have finished in the money last week had we not lost Marvin Harrison Jr. early in that game.
That was a 0, right?
We took a 0.
Yeah, brutal.
With a concussion. So let's figure this thing out here. Once again, looking here at the fantasy defenses, Steelers are number 1 in terms of most expensive.
Wow.
So
that shocks me a little bit.
Yeah, 3,700. Looking here at the bottom of this, the Buccaneers against Baltimore, 2,300.
I'm surprised they're last, but
yeah, they're a good defense.
Yeah.
Titans against Buffalo, 2,300. That one's actually not bad.
That's a good defense too.
It's a good defense, and I don't know how much Amari Cooper plays this week.
He's going to play. That's all they've announced.
But I think it's just going to be it'll be a smaller package than what Devontae Adams plays Sunday night.
I think Cook returns.
Yeah. Panthers against Washington, 2,400. That makes sense. They should be last.
I say both of those should be low.
Cardinals against the Chargers, 2,400. No, that's pretty bad. Giants against Philadelphia, 2,500. That's not awful.
I don't mind that. They're like the best pass rushing team in the league right now.
Yeah, they get after
sacks.
it.
Yeah.
See them next week. Cincinnati at Cleveland is 2,500. I don't mind that either.
I don't mind that either. I picked them up in a dynasty league. There wasn't much to pick from, but it's just a bet against Watson.
Seattle at Atlanta, 2,600. Houston at Green Bay, 2,600. The Raiders at the Rams, 2,700. Miami at Indianapolis, 2,800. Detroit at Minnesota, 2,800. Baltimore at Tampa Bay, 2,900. Detroit at Minnesota. Minnesota is 2,900.
I can't get my mind off Cincy.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling you on that. You would just plug it in.
I don't
even
block
need to see
anybody. Chubb may play a little. They don't have Amari Cooper. Their quarterback's the worst in the league.
Who's blocking Hendrickson?
Right.
The quarterback. They can't. It's like 6 sacks a game.
It's by far the most.
And they just
league.
trade their best receiver away.
Right. And they rarely complete passes.
All right, it's plugged in.
Yeah.
2,500.
They don't even have to be a great unit.
They don't. If they get us 5 points, it's going to be. The Browns haven't scored 20 points all season.
All season. Right.
All right. That.
I bet that's shocking.
It might be, but it is a Cincinnati defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
been bad.
Quarterback Lamar is 8,000.
Interesting.
Jaden Daniels is 7,600. Jared Allen, 7,500. Or Josh Allen, I should say. Yeah, wrong Allen. Jalen Hurts, 7,300. Stroud is 7,100. Mahomes, 7,000. Jordan Love, 6,900. Burrow, 6,800. Kyler Murray, 6,700. Baker Mayfield at 6,600.
They're going to throw a lot.
They have the second worst pass defense in the league.
In terms of fantasy points allowed?
They're 30th in fantasy points allowed.
Okay.
In terms of the overall pass defense, Baltimore is 31st.
They have good receivers, and Baker's will throw a lot, and he's playing well. I have interest in that. He runs a little bit.
Yeah. Jared Goff is 6,500. Brock Purdy against Kansas City, 6,400. Kirk Cousins. This game could be a shootout. Seattle at Atlanta.
Oh, I know.
Kirk Cousins is 6,300.
I think Atlanta wins that game. I'd have some interest in Cousins.
Sam Darnold, 6,200. Tua Tagovailoa. Joe Flacco, he's not starting. Anthony Richardson, 6,000 against Miami.
It's not bad. I mean,
it's not
assuming
bad.
he plays the whole game, which you can't assume with him.
Right.
He's going to put up fantasy numbers.
Geno Smith is only 5,800.
It's not bad. I think I'd rather pay for Cousins, though.
5,800, though, for the guy who's leading the NFL in passing yardage in what you think is going to be a shootout.
Their big problem is protection, but Atlanta doesn't rush the passer that well.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, 5,700. Matthew Stafford, 5,600. My, how the mighty have fallen here. Holy mackerel.
They're playing somebody terrible, though, right?
Stafford? They're
Yeah.
playing the Raiders.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky is 5,500.
Holy smokes.
Justin Herbert, 5,500. They're playing the Cardinals,
Yeah.
but
I think
they
they're
might just run the ball.
I think they win that game.
Yeah. Russell Wilson, 5,400. Mitch Trubisky costs more.
Why is Mitch more than Herbert and Wilson?
Daniel Jones, 5,400. We don't need to go. Andy Dalton is only 5,200 against Washington.
It's a bad defense.
It's a bad defense.
I think that's a pick.
I mean, what are we doing here?
Right. I mean, at minimum, he's going to get garbage time.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they stick Bryce Hall in the game in the fourth quarter. 'cause
I mean,
they're
that could
losing so bad.
happen.
That could happen and would be sad, but, probably throws a lot.
I would think so.
I think he's a pick.
Do you go with him or do you go pay up a little bit for Cousins? It's an $1,100 difference.
I liked Baker. I liked Cousins. I kind of liked Richardson at his cost.
You had Geno Smith in between those
Geno
two,
was
too.
kind of interesting.
At 5,800.
I think I'd still pick Dalton.
Dalton.
So we got a lot of money to
We're
spend.
going a little roadhouse here, throwing Dalton in the lineup. There we go. Running back. You want to go running back or tight end?
Let's do tight ends.
All right. Tight end, you got Kelsey, 6,300. George Kittle, 6,000. Brock Bowers, 5,800. The Rams are 31st against opposing tight ends.
Are they? That's intriguing.
Kansas City's actually 32nd.
Are they really?
Yeah, how about that? Trey McBride, 5,700. Sam Laporta, 5,300. Dalton Kincaid, 5,000. Goddard's not going to play, I don't think. Tucker Kraft is 4,600. Kyle Pitts, you want to get a piece of that game? 4,500. They are 29th
He's been okay lately.
against opposing tight ends. He gets chunk plays.
Pitts and Bowers so far are kind of interesting.
Freiermuth is 4,400. Isaiah Likely, 4,300. Dalton Schultz, 4,200. Green Bay is 30th against
Really?
opposing
No
tight
Nico.
ends. No Nico. David Njoku, 4,100.
I think he benefits. I think he's the only one that I have
think
any
so, too.
interest in. Yeah, because they'll throw it to him behind the line of scrimmage and stuff Watson will complete.
Mark Andrews, 4,000. Zach Ertz, 3,900. They're 24th against opposing tight ends. Colby Parkinson, Cade Otton. Baltimore is 26th against opposing tight ends this year. Cade Otton is 3,600.
Wow.
Just saying.
We've just been cheap everywhere.
Yeah. Noah Fant is 3,500.
Who do you like?
I like a lot. Actually, like a lot of them.
There was like
they're
five of them, and I'm having a hard time keeping track of them in my noggin.
I mean, Bowers is the only game in town, and they're 31st against opposing tight ends.
Of the expensive ones, he was definitely my favorite.
It's 5,800. It's still under
budget.
Under budget.
You know he's going to catch passes. I just don't know how much after the catch stuff he'll be able to get because the whole world knows he's getting the football. But he's going to catch 6.
Yeah,
he might catch 12.
He might.
I mean, they're going to throw him the football a lot.
I like him. I like Pitts at 4,500.
I just think he has a low floor.
Yeah. McBride isn't bad at 5,700.
No, that was one that I thought of too.
Yeah. Let's go Bowers.
You want to do Bowers?
Yeah, let's do Bowers.
We haven't spent much.
We still can spend 6,100 the rest of the way. I think we can probably save some money at running back here. Saquon Barkley is 8,200.
Against revenge game.
Revenge game. Kyron Williams, 8,100. Derrick Henry, 8,000.
They don't tackle anybody.
No.
I don't love Henry against Vea.
Jordan Mason, 7,600.
I guess I think he's going to play.
Kansas City's number one against opposing running backs. Kenneth Walker, 7,300. Joe Mixon, 7,200. Bijan Robinson, 7,100. James Cook is 7,000. I don't like that against Tennessee, though. Jahmyr Gibbs, 6,900. Minnesota is second against opposing running backs.
Not surprising.
Breece Hall, 6,800. James Conner, 6,700. The Chargers are sixth against opposing. Devin Achane, 6,700. David Montgomery, 6,600. Isaac Guerrero, 6,600. Jeez. Chuba Hubbard, 6,500 against Washington.
Not bad. We already have Dalton, though. I'm
Yeah.
not going all in on Panthers.
Josh Jacobs against Houston is 6,400. They're fifth against opposing running backs. Brian Robinson against Carolina, 6,400. If he plays, he's questionable.
I wouldn't mind Eckler cheaper than that, though.
Tony Pollard, 6,300.
He's the only show in town. Spears has been ruled out.
J.K. Dobbins, 6,300 against Arizona.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Singletary,
They're gonna have like
6,200.
40 minutes of time possession in that game.
Tyrone Tracy is 6,200. Mostert is 6,100. Kareem Hunt, 6,000. Najee Harris, 6,000. Ekeler is 5,900.
I like that one.
Chase Brown, 5,900.
I like that, too. I think he's starting to take that backfield over a little
Bucky Irving, 5,900. Zach Moss, 5,800.
bit. Before I lose my train of thought here, because I got a bunch of names on the tip of my tongue, so
All
I'll
right.
throw a couple out at you. Kyron Williams, but that's more of a vote against the Raiders. Some interest in a Chan, Chase Brown, Ekeler, and I love Dobbins. Any of those float your boat?
I want to spend down a little bit at running back.
Okay.
There's some guys here.
Some of those ones I mentioned at the end there, though, Chase Brown, Ekeler, Dobbins. We can go even cheaper if you want.
Tyler Goodson is 5,400.
Oh, he's going to play. He might play a lot.
Taylor's already out and Sermon's banged up.
Yeah.
He's been a better option, and Miami's 26th against opposing running backs.
I'll be shocked if he scores, but that's okay.
He might get a long one,
I think he'll catch the ball, too.
assuming the quarterback can hit him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that scares me about that.
I wish Flacco was playing for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just worried about goal line vulturing, too.
I kind of like Jalen Warren this week at 5,000 too.
It's not bad.
Again, I think it's kind of out of sight, out of mind with him. I guess those are the ones that kind of stand out to me as cheaper. I can't think if there's anybody
Dobbins
else.
seems way too cheap to me.
I mean, we could pay up for one of those guys and then just
Yeah, I don't think
grab a
Dobbins is
cheaper.
that crazy expensive, though. He was
No,
the most expensive.
he was
of
just above. He was 60. He and Pollard were both 6,300, and I love both of them this week.
those. Okay. I mean, they're both. I mean, there's no Gus Edwards.
The only difference, Buffalo is 31st against opposing running backs. Arizona is 23rd, and I think Pollard will catch more passes. So if even game script
He'll
doesn't
definitely
take
catch more passes.
him out of the game.
I didn't know the numbers, but I was over here thinking I'd rather run against Arizona than Buffalo. Just eyeball test. And their line's better. Much better.
And the quarterback's better.
What if we did them both?
Well, and then that's over budget on both of those players for what we have left, and we're going to have to go cheap at wide receiver. And I don't want to go cheap at wide receiver.
Okay.
You want to go Dobbins?
Yeah.
All right. Dobbins and
Warren?
let's go Warren.
Goodson?
Warren's actually cheaper.
Oh, that's my next question. All right.
That gets us now. We can spend an average of $6,300 per wide receiver in the flex.
3 spots, right?
That's 3 spots in a
Yeah.
flex. So
3 in a flex or 2 in a flex?
3 receivers in a
Okay,
flex.
okay.
We can average 6,300. Justin Jefferson, 8,500 against Detroit, which is 29th against opposing wide receivers.
Without Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, 8,400. Cleveland is 23rd against opposing.
He looks great, too.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8,300. Minnesota is 32nd against opposing wide receivers. A.J. Brown, 8,000. Cooper Kupp is 7,900.
Sounds like he's playing.
Stephon Diggs, 7,700. Malik Neighbors, 7,500. Philadelphia is 26th against opposing wide receivers. He has no injury designation.
No, he's going to play.
Tyreek Hill, no, is 7,300. I don't care. Mike Evans, 7,200. Jaden Reed, 7,200.
Is Evans off the...
They're both listed as questionable, but they're probably going to play. Devontae Adams, 7,100. C.J. Godwin, 7,100. Again, Baltimore 30th.
Godwin's as good as Evans.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to pick one of them, I'd just take the cheaper one. He's a cheaper one.
Devontae Smith, 6,900.
Okay.
There's
a lot of good options.
Drake London, 6,900. A piece of that game.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin, 6,800. DK Metcalf, 6,800. That's too cheap for DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm. I think McLaurin's a decent option, too.
Deontay Johnson, 6,600 if he's questionable.
That'd be our hookup.
Garrett Wilson, 6,600. That's the only thing that scares me about Dalton. What if Deontay Johnson doesn't play?
Yeah, it would be a problem.
He's listed as questionable. He played through the ankle injury. He's held out of practice Wednesday. Truly questionable ahead of the 4 o'clock kickoff. I don't like that.
That's not ideal, but
we might need to pivot off of Dalton. Garrett Wilson, 6,600. Zay Flowers, 6,600 against Tampa Bay.
Not bad either.
Yeah, they're 27th against opposing wide receivers. Tank Dell, 6,500.
That's great.
I love that.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, 6,400.
I like that.
I like that too. Xavier Worthy, 6,400. Brandon Ayuk, 6,300. Michael Pittman, 6,200. Wan'Dale Robinson, 6,100. Khalil Shakir, 6,000. Jamison Williams, 6,000.
Okay, they're bad against.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, 5,900.
Who's jumping out at you?
There's a bunch.
I got too many here. Trying to keep them sorted in my mind.
Amari Cooper, 5,800.
Yeah.
George Pickens, 5,800. Darnell Mooney, 5,600. Jordan Addison, 5,600. Calvin Ridley, new. Romeo Dobbs, 5,500. Keon Coleman, 5,400. Tyler Lockett is 5,300, but he's questionable. Jalen Waddle, 5,300. Alec Pierce is 5,200.
Pretty cheap for Jalen Waddle.
Yeah. Well, they can't throw the football, though.
No, right. At least they're coming off a
He's
bye.
done nothing, though.
Against vanilla defense.
Done nothing. Slayton is 5,100. Xavier Legette, 5,100.
Who are some of the pricier guys you like? We can come down to some of those.
There's so many.
There's so many.
So many. Yeah, unfortunately, you got to pay for him. I think Godwin at 7,100 is just too cheap.
That's a really good one.
I'm going to plug
I
that in
definitely
now.
want something of that passing game.
Yeah. I like London.
Yeah.
I like Metcalf. I wouldn't mind a piece of both sides of that game.
Yeah. I prefer London of the two, but I got no problem with both.
Tank Dell at
Dell
6,500.
stood out. He seemed too cheap.
Yeah. 6,500 for him is still just a little bit over budget.
I got no problem with it.
Okay, plugged in. That gives us, we can spend an average of 5,800 on the last two spots.
I think there were running backs in the 5,000 range that we were kind of fond of.
Yeah. You want to pay up for another
You
one of those
want to get out
receivers?
of Dalton while we're on that topic, though?
We can do that. That gives us an average of 5,600. So at quarterback, who else did we like there? It was
I remember we liked Baker, but we liked some, I think, Herbert we mentioned.
Herbert was
We
5,500.
were right in the same neighborhood in terms of cost.
Yeah. They can blow them out, though.
Oh, yeah. I forget the quarterbacks we liked, but there was a couple.
You know, Stafford
Cousins was
Stafford
one.
at 50,
Geno was one.
Stafford at 5,600
I don't think it's bad at all with Cup.
with Kupp coming back against the Raiders defense.
McVay after a bye?
McVay after a bye.
Yeah.
I don't hate that at all.
No, I wouldn't mind any Ram action. I don't want to pay for Cup yet.
Yeah, 5,600. Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's a decent floor there. I know he's only thrown 3 touchdown passes thus far, but I think that changes this week.
I think so.
Yeah. All right, so that gets us, we can average 5,600 here the rest of the way. We need another wide receiver. Jackson Smith and Jigba is only 5,900.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I'm a believer. You said Lockett's questionable?
And Lockett's questionable.
Yeah.
He's going to get the ball.
I expect a lot of points in that game, too.
Yeah. And then a flex, we got $5,300 to spend on a flex. That would get us into, well, Lockett, Devonta Foreman, Jalen Waddle, Zach Charbonnet, Sam Laporta, Braylon Allen, Alec Pierce, Ray Davis, Dontavian Wicks, Jalen Wright, Darius Slayton, Taylor with San Francisco. Yeah.
What are the Vikings,
Algier.
What are the Vikings against tight ends on Laporta?
25th. Interesting.
Yeah.
We could actually plug Laporta in at tight end
And see where that leaves us.
and see where that takes us.
He seems cheap. I like that idea.
Okay. So taking that out, putting Laporta. Laporta's done next to nothing at this point, but he had a touchdown last week.
I'm going to say, he might be turning the corner a little bit.
Where the heck is he at here? I'm way down. Okay, so 50.
Yeah, he's really cheap considering what we thought of him going into the season.
All right, so that gives us then $5,800 to spend on the flex, which should get us into a better neighborhood.
Yeah,
here.
I would think.
Amari Cooper, Zach Moss, George Pickens. Put Brock Bowers in the flex.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And we could change that out if we decided. Trey McBride in the flex, $5,700. Darnell Mooney in the flex.
I think I like Bowers better than all the receivers.
I think I might too. So we just basically.
Yeah, we just switched their spots, but
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
So that's Matthew Stafford at quarterback at $5,600 with Cooper Kupp coming back.
Mm-hmm.
J.K. Dobbins at $6,300. Jalen Warren at $5,000 at running back. Godwin at $7,100. Tank Dell at $6,500. And Jackson Smith and Jigba at $5,900 at wide receiver. Should get the targets there. Sam Laporta at tight end at $5,300. Brock Bowers in the flex at $5,800. Just look at him as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And somehow I have the Browns defense in there instead
We
of
went to
Cincinnati. We went to Bengals defense.
The Bengals was cheaper, too.
I'm glad I saw that. Yeah.
Doing a double.
I think I got that backwards. That's the problem. Yeah, the Bengals defense is actually much. Where are they at? The Bengals defense is $3,300. I screwed that up. I read it backwards.
Oh.
So we got.
So you're going to pull Bowers
We
out?
could get the
then?
Giants defense in there at $2,500.
Look at sacks. Okay. We have anything left over?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Spend it all.
I'm fine with that.
So again, Stafford, Dobbins, Warren, Godwin, Dell, Smith and Jigba, Laporta, Bowers, and the Giants defense.
Okay. We didn't pay up for anyone massive, but we don't have any cheap guys either.
Yeah. I mean, our cheapest guy, really, beyond the defense, is Jalen Warren. I think Jalen Warren's going to have a good game.
I think he'll catch a handful of balls.
Yeah.
You know?
And, okay, I'm going to lock it in.
All right. Lock it up.
Locked in. Need a winner this week.
We do.
We do. But let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And you can join former members of the Black and Gold for Kids Flag Football Clinics at North Strabane Park on Saturday, November 9th. Instructors include Mike Logan and Roosevelt Nix, plus Kayla Pierce from the Pittsburgh Passion. Registration for your school-age child is free. I like that price. I like that price. Free.
Yeah, go check it out.
Go to the calendar page at dve.com and sign up to play or sign up for the event today. Kids Flag Football Clinics are brought to you by U.S. Steel, S&T Bank, Millie's Truck Pittsburgh, and South Hills Auto.
Can you imagine Rosie Nix playing flag football? Doesn't have a real flag footballish style of game to him.
Nose tackle turn fullback. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Time to take a look at this week's games, Matt.
It's a really good slate.
Kicking off, except for this one,
Well, there's a bad one.
the 9:30 a.m. game in London. Don't forget to set your fantasy lineups if you got somebody. The 1-5 Patriots at the 1-5 Jaguars. Jacksonville favored by 5.5. The over/under 42.5. Drake May didn't show up in our fantasy report there because it didn't include the.
I would say no one from that game did. Huh?
Yeah, it didn't include the early. I wouldn't have minded Drake May in this game.
Me too. I picked him up last week. I think he's really good for fantasy in particular. He's gonna be volatile. I don't know the Jags should be favored by that much over anybody.
Yeah,
I like that they stayed there.
they're there. Yeah,
I think
that's the
a big
one.
deal. Yeah.
That's the one
I
caveat.
wouldn't touch the game. I think they probably end up winning. The O-line that the Patriots trotted out was
really bad.
Really, really bad. Like guys I've never heard of bad. But Jacksonville, the Saints last night was along this line, but just terrible body language. Like, don't want to be there. I never felt the Saints had any chance to win that game.
None.
And I felt the same last week with Jacksonville. Like,
I didn't want to talk about that game. That game was awful.
Brutal.
It was like watching that's what would happen if you put an NFL team against a college team.
Felt that, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
Just like no one in the stadium
Can't
thought the Saints
function.
could win.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't function at all. That's what always kills me when people say, "Well, this college team is so good it could beat the worst NFL team."
Not
No,
even
it couldn't.
a chance. I mean, the Saints last night would have beat Bama.
Yeah.
By far. Right.
At 3-3, the Seahawks are at the 4-2 Falcons. Atlanta favored by 3. The over/under 51.5.
I think Atlanta beats them by more than 3. That's a rough road trip.
Yeah.
Seattle's trending the wrong direction.
Yeah, they're heading the wrong way.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I don't know if they're going to be Tyler Lockett sellers soon, but they might be a loss away from moving a guy like that. They got really bad cap situation next year. Atlanta's trending the right way. I do think there could be a lot of points in that game.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game,
Yeah. But I'll lay the points.
Yeah, 3 points at home. All right, that works.
Seattle had a lot of D-line injuries. I'm not sure where those are at right now.
The Titans at 1-4 are at the Bills at 4-2. Buffalo favored by 9.5. The over/under just 40.5. It's a lot of points.
I think I'll take the points.
Buffalo's defense isn't great.
If Levis throws 2 pick sixes, though,
That's the
right
caveat. That's the outlier there. Like, what is he going to do?
That's the thing that worries me. But I'm going to take the points, just thinking defense will keep it close.
Yeah. The best thing that could happen for the Titans is something happens to Levis, or he gets picked twice or 3 times or whatever, and they turn to Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I was looking for some Levis news because I saw something pop up, and I'm not finding it. He's questionable for today's game.
Ah, well, there you go.
Maybe it
is Mason Rudolph.
We should hold you out there, Will.
If that's the case,
I'll take the points.
Yeah, I'll take 9.5.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Bills coming off a big Monday night win.
Short week, huh?
Short week, yeah. Bengals at 2-4 are at the 1-5 Browns. Cincinnati favored on the road by 5.5. The over/under is 41.5. Joe Burrow, 1-5 in his career against the Browns.
About to go 2-5. I have no problem laying those points. I mean, I think the Browns' defense will be on the field so much, and I think Garrett's dealing with the foot something or other.
He's had
too.
that all year. He's played through it.
I think it's both feet or something. I heard something strange about his feet. He needs surgery after the season.
Trey Hendrickson, Deshaun Watson's going to be wearing Trey Hendrickson so much. It's going to look like he's wearing Trey Hendrickson's jersey.
I don't know where the Browns' points come from unless there's a pick six or something defensive score. You know, like all my leagues, I in the Browns defense dropped them. And
I will say this. The Bengals have an NFL worst 47% defensive success rate against the run.
Mm-hmm.
Every other team in the league is above 50%.
Wow. So 31 teams, what that means, folks, 31 teams basically in a nutshell are happy more often than not when the opponent runs the ball. Okay? Not the Browns.
Not the
Bengals.
Not the Bengals.
Right.
Like,
the opponent
another
is
run?
happy. Right. Yep. There's another first down. There's another chunk on first down.
No, but I do think that, again,
I think that should be over 7.
The Browns haven't scored 20 points all season. I don't know if they get to 20 in this one either.
I don't think so. Unless it's a defense or special team score, I really don't.
Yeah. At 5-1, the Texans are at the 4-2 Packers. Green Bay favored by 2.5. The over/under 47.5.
I don't want to touch it. I think they're very equal teams. The line is telling you that. I think it's about right.
Yeah, I need to see what's up with Jair Alexander. Mm-hmm. Not that he's great at this point in his career, but they could use him. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
Right. 2 young, fun quarterbacks. I'd probably take Green Bay.
I lean towards Green Bay at home.
But it's more of a watch it, don't bet on it type game.
Yeah. At 2-3, the Dolphins are at the 3-3 Colts. Indianapolis favored by 3. The over/under is 43.5. Richardson's back in the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the Colts because I don't think the Dolphins can function offensively enough to beat anybody.
I think they run for 150-plus yards, behind Nelson, and I don't even care who the backs are, but Richardson. Now, I do think there's a chance, coming off a bye, that against such a heavy cover 3 team in a dome on a fast surface, McDonald comes up with ways to get Waddle, Hill, and Achane in some kind of space. I mean, Huntley's not the worst quarterback on the planet. But their offense is miserable.
No, that would be Deshaun Watson, but
right. I'm taking the Colts. I'm taking the Colts.
He couldn't make the roster in Cleveland, but
right, he'd be better than what they got.
He just throws sideways. I mean, even when he was in Baltimore, 90% of his passes were sideways.
Mm-hmm. And he's not a rhythm to a
No.
type at all.
Not at all. It's just it's a bad matchup. I like the Colts at home. At 4-1, the Lions are at the 5-0 Vikings. Minnesota favored by 1.5. The over/under is 50.5. Do we think the Vikings get to 6-0, or do the Lions catch them?
I think the Lions can control things with their O-line. And frankly, if the Vikings were getting points, I'd take points. I mean, even if it's 1.
The only thing that worries me about this on Detroit's side of things is you're now dealing without Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh, that's massive.
Huge. It's like taking T.J. Watt out of the Steelers' defense.
I think they might be favored by 1.5 on the road with Hutch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been that good, and he can close out games. It's a massive concern. And you're giving a good coach 2 weeks to prepare, and at home, that place is going to be insane. I just am betting on the Lions' O-line and run game. Kind of neutralize some of the Flores factor.
I'm going to take the Vikings.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I believe they're good. I don't think they're a fluke.
At 3-2, the Eagles are at the 2-4 Giants. It's a Saquon Barkley revenge game.
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia favored by 3 on the road. The over/under 42.5. I guess I like the Eagles in this one, but I don't love them.
I like the home dog. I wish Andrew Thomas was playing. That's going to be a big deal when we start previewing Steelers Giants.
That's huge.
Because the rest of their O-line can function well when he's one-on-one with a good edge guy. But I think their D is better than people think. And
no, it's a good defense.
Neighbors is back.
It's a good defense.
Yeah.
Neighbors is back, but I think Saquon, especially after all the stuff that you saw in Hard Knocks and all that stuff, he's going to be highly motivated in this one to
highly
go
motivated.
off.
Yep.
The Raiders at 2-4 are at the 1-4 Rams. The Rams favored by 7.
This is such a big line.
The over/under 43.5. 7 points. Should they be favored by 7 points?
Over anybody. I still am taking them. I was shocked too when I saw that. I thought it'd be 4.5. I thought it'd be 5.
It's a lot of points for a bad team to lay.
I know. I mean, the Rams aren't.
The Rams'
great.
defense is really bad.
It is. But coming off a bye, I think Kyron Williams runs for a lot of yards. I mean, and we have Stafford and throwing to Cup. I think the Raiders are broke.
They might be.
I can't pick the Raiders.
No, I hear you on that, but can they stay within 7?
Right. I mean, maybe if it was 7.5 or 8, I could get there. But
we also have Brock Bowers in our lineup, so
I think that's all they got. I've said that 400 times in the last 2 weeks.
I kind of like the Rams too. I can't bet on that Raiders team. The 1-5 Panthers are at the 4-2 Commanders. Washington favored by 8. The over/under 51.5.
I can see Washington win this game like 35-0, but I think it's going to be more like 35-32.
Chuba Hubbard might run for 150 yards.
Yeah, I think the Panthers' offense is going to put up points, and this is going to be a fun back and forth, and then they'll lose in the end. So I'll take the points.
Yeah. Okay.
Deontay matters, though.
Deontay does matter.
Yeah. Back to our last segment.
And they just lost. Washington just lost Jonathan Allen for the year.
Yeah, I mean that O-line's not bad.
Yeah,
those guards they paid a lot of money for, and
But I'll trust in Jaden Daniels there.
You want Washington?
I'll take Washington.
I'll take Carolina. It was over a touchdown, right?
8. Yeah. Mm-hmm. At 5-0, the Chiefs are at the 3-3 49ers. San Francisco favored by 1.5 at home. The over/under 46.5. I'll take the home team in this one. I think they're more desperate.
I would not bet on it. I really don't have a strong feeling. But I think Mahomes is like 15-1 when he's a dog or something crazy like that. And Andy Reid off a bye is like 100-1. And I'm just picturing Reid walking around the halls going, they think they're better than us. Hey, Pat, we're an underdog this week. It doesn't happen much to Kansas City.
Doesn't, no.
But I also think the Niners are a sleeping giant. I wouldn't touch it, but I would take the points. Whoever got points in that game, I'd just take the points.
At 4-2, the Ravens are at the 4-2 Buccaneers.
That's a Monday nighter, right? 1-2.
Yeah, 1-2.
I like the 2 Monday nighters.
Baltimore giving 3.5 points. The over/under 49.5.
Place can be lubed up.
we know Lamar doesn't typically lose to NFC teams.
Right.
But 3.5 on the road?
I'm going to take the Ravens, but there's two things working against them, in my opinion, is Baker, Godwin, Evans. I mean, I think that they will throw for yardage. And Vita Vea. I mean, Vita Vea won't affect Lamar's life all that much, but the Henry up-them gut stuff is going to be harder than usual. You know, I mean, he's going to – Linderbaum's a really good player, but he's 70 pounds less than Vea.
I just think there'll be I don't know that I want to touch a lot of these games this week.
They're just good ones to watch.
But there are over-unders that are out there to be had.
I hear you. I would take the Ravens, but that's the right line.
Just knowing Lamar's record against NFC teams, I would take the Ravens as well, but I'd be more inclined to that 49.5.
Going over. Yeah.
I don't know that either team stops the other one.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
I could see that. I don't think Tampa even tries to run.
Your second Monday night game. Yippee!
Yeah. That's a great thing about the two. I
it
don't
is
want
good
to be
about
crappy.
the two. Yeah.
It's kind of that one stays on the iPad and the other one's on TV.
The 3-2 Chargers are at the 2-4 Cardinals. The Chargers favored by 2.5. The over/under is 43.5.
I really like the Chargers in that game. I think they run for 1,000,000 yards.
They'll be the more physical team.
Yep. I think they're better coached. I think their defense is pretty legit. It's under a field goal. They're probably the better quarterback, although they don't call upon him all that much. And I think their O-line rules the day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I like the Chargers in that one, even though I don't necessarily love that Chargers team. They'll be a more physical team, and they will beat the Cardinals up at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I think that Cardinal D just doesn't have enough players.
Yeah, yep. That's this week's slate of games, except for one, which we will get to right after this. That would be the Steeler game against the Jets. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to preview that one, give our picks right after this. Welcome back to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. You can also download the podcast on demand on the Steelers official mobile app, or you can watch us on YouTube, which apparently, again, we're idiots. Some people say that. Others say no. But we appreciate you watching regardless.
Yeah, spread the word, man.
At 2-4, well, before we get to the Steelers picking the game, got the Steelers injury report here for you.
Oh, okay. That came through already? Good.
Yeah. So,
I think we have a pretty good clue what it's going to say, but all right.
Yes. Roman Wilson, limited again today. He is questionable.
That's a bummer, but I would be really shocked if he plays.
Nick Herbig out. Zach Frazier out. We knew that early in the week. Montravius Adams added to the report today. Limited participant today with a knee issue. He is questionable to play.
Don't love that.
Dylan Cook still on the injured reserve list right now. He got a full practice, though, in today. He's listed as
They
out.
could activate him over the weekend.
Well,
though,
they
right?
could, but they've listed him as out.
Oh, they listed him out. Okay.
And then the only other guy listed as out is Cordero Patterson, who still did not practice.
Okay.
So
Highsmith we knew. Pruitt we knew.
Yeah.
Warren's fine. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Roman Wilson and Montravius Adams are the only kind of game-time decisions. We'll see what happens with those two guys.
I don't love that new news on Adams.
And typically what Mike Tomlin will do, he'll downgrade a guy Saturday or upgrade them Saturday based on the walkthrough, how they feel.
Get a little more knowledge.
Clarity.
Yeah.
Clarity. Yeah. So at 2-4, Sunday night, the Jets are at the 4-2 Steelers. The Steelers honoring the 1974 Super Bowl team, cool. Alumni weekend. The Jets favored by 2, the over-under 38.5. What do you got, Matt?
I got 22-17 New York. First time I've picked against Steelers all year. I think it's going to be a really good game, and I could see it going either way. I just think New York is desperate. And they got a lot of dudes that have had a lot of success in this league and realize 2-5 ain't going to cut it, folks. I mean, Tyron Smith's not had a good year, but he's been a good player, and I think he knows on a national stage how desperate times are. And I bet they're feeling it from ownership and all that stuff. And I wish Zach Frazier was playing. I mean, I don't think McCollum played bad, to be honest with you, but
They had
the O-line injuries are making me crazy.
The 36-yard touchdown run that Najee Harris had came with McCollum in the game. It was the play after Frazier got hurt. They ran the ball up the middle, remember, and he bounced that to the outside. So
I think McCollum was quite good off the bench, I mean, all things considered. I just wish the O-line was stable and,
wish for that all year long.
I know.
Can wish in one hand and do what in the other.
And I do think Wilson will handle that better than Fields, in terms of, man, my right tackle or my left guard or whatever is having a really hard time. I got to make adjustments. But I also think there's a chance Wilson's a little rusty too. I mean, he hasn't played in a real game in a while. He still would be my pick. And if he looks terrible, I'm not going to be like, oh, he was just rusty, guys. I was right. Who knows? We'll see see how they play. I think the Jets are dangerous right now.
I do too. And like I said, I've gone back and forth on this game all week long. It's more than a point. It's 2 points. The injury report for the Jets I don't love with that secondary. Again,
from their perspective,
that's the strength of that defense.
Right.
Again, not necessarily. It is a strength.
It's a strength.
It's a strength, and it's the way that they're set up to play. Is to allow their defensive line to get after people because they know on the back end they can just play coverage.
They trust those guys, yeah.
And if they can't do that, I wonder how it affects how they play defense.
I mean, I have optimism for Austin, Jefferson, Wilson, but that's not exactly Mahomes and superstars.
It's not.
I mean?
No, it's not. I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a similar score to you, kind of in that same range, but I have this going over a little bit.
Okay.
You were right. What'd you say? 22-17?
22-17.
So you were 1 point over.
1 over. Yeah, I didn't know what the over
half a point over. 38.5.
Okay.
That's not been the norm with Steeler games this year.
No, I think I've gone under every game too. I picked the Steelers and under. I think
the Sunday night games unders are 32-10 on Sunday Night Football since 2022, including 6-0 this season.
Interesting. Wonder why that is. I bet more unders have hit in general.
Here's the thing, and we talked about this yesterday when we talked about the officials. And Sean Smith's crew is officiating this game. They've called 11.5 penalties on average per game. That's one of the lowest in the league. The Jets are highly penalized.
Yes.
They have given up the most penalty yardage in the league. They're the second most penalized team.
Yep.
The standalone games this season have seen more penalties called.
Right.
Because, and as we saw last week at the Jets-Bills in that standalone game, we had a lot of buzzing in from New York.
Yes.
For whatever reason. And whether they get the call right, wrong, no, that's right, this is wrong, whatever.
I'm not even sure why we have red flags anymore.
Yeah.
We're just going to buzz in and fix things, and why are we even throwing flags, right?
So we could see maybe it is the standalone games with the penalties, because I do believe, if I haven't researched this, but the standalone games, every one of them this season, it seems like 20 penalties.
Jets-Bills set the record.
Oh, I mean, unbelievable.
This is a dumb question. Does more penalties mean less or more points, though?
I think it means less points.
I mean,
because there's holding penalties and things, false starts and.
I was say, but the Jets lead the league in DPIs. That leads to more points.
They're third most, but
okay.
They have 8.
They have a bunch. Yeah. Okay. I mean, holds and anything goes backwards.
But this is a crew that hasn't called a lot of DPIs. They've only called 2. So does that benefit the Jets? Does it? I don't know.
I don't either.
Does it benefit the Steelers? I don't know. I mean, can you just grab a hold of Devontae Adams at the top of the route and just say, okay, you're not going to catch this?
Yeah.
And get away with it.
They call a lot of holds on Watt and Quinnen Williams and Highsmith and Cam or not,
Yeah.
Because both these D lines are better than both these O lines.
Yeah. I was going to go. Well, I'm still going to go over. I'm going to take, since you took the Jets, I'll take the Steelers.
Okay.
We can't both agree on this. I'll go Steelers 23-20.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to this.
I think it's that close of a game. I think it could go either way. It could be a turnover here or there. It could be I do think the Steelers have a big advantage on special teams.
Yep. I think that's absolutely important.
And to me, I think that matters in this one.
Yeah.
Especially in a game that I think might be a field position type game.
I mean, Vegas thinks it's a 2-point game.
Yeah.
Special teams is going to matter.
Yeah.
Whether we think it is, no matter what we think.
And I think the chasm between the two teams on special teams
is large.
Is massive.
One of the best advantages going.
Yeah.
Without
for either team. I just think that the Steelers' special teams units against New York's special teams units couldn't be any farther apart.
No, it's one of the best versus one of the worst.
Yeah. So maybe I hate to say, are they going to block a kick for a third consecutive game? But maybe. But I don't trust Zierlein at all.
No.
To make kicks.
Make a big kick on the road at night.
At Acrisure Stadium.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't think there any weather, right?
I don't think. It's supposed to be nice on Sunday.
Okay. I thought all weekend was
But it's still going to be. It's been nice during the day, and it's gotten colder at night.
Mm-hmm.
We're still getting down into the 40s and 30s at night. So it is
October
going to be chilly.
Pittsburgh, right. I don't think either one of these teams care about that.
Yeah.
And Rodgers played in Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers, 28 consecutive games, under 300 passing yards.
I saw that.
The
That's
longest
insane.
active streak in the NFL.
Yeah, let alone by his standards.
Yeah.
He was awful close last week.
He was
4 yards
close,
away,
but he didn't get
right,
there.
Yeah.
I think they're going to pressure him.
Oh, I think he's going to get hit.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get hit.
I think he's going to get hit. The quarterback must go down. In fact, that might be one of my guarantees on Sunday that the Steelers are only averaging 2.3 sacks per game this season.
It's a weird prediction, and I am not hoping for it or anything, but it wouldn't shock me if Rodgers doesn't finish the game. I mean, there was a couple times this past week where
He's
I looked
a
at him
little slow
like,
getting up, yeah.
man, he does not look happy or comfortable at all.
He hasn't looked happy all year.
Right, he hasn't looked happy in a while, but he just looked
I just
like in a lot of pain.
I can't get past the fact, Matt, that this is a team that lost to Denver in a game in which they gave up -7 passing yards in the first half.
Oh, yeah, they've had some low moments.
I mean, that's about as low as it gets. You gave up negative passing yards without a sack in a game.
For a whole half.
And you lost 10-9.
I know.
Denver's got a good defense.
So
do
yeah,
the Steelers.
Does. Absolutely does.
And
that leads to fired coaches.
Yeah, that leads to fired coaches. So again, I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other about this one. I just think this injuries in the secondary to the Jets are a major issue in the Steelers' special teams advantage. And the Jets have been a highly penalized team.
Maybe the Steelers
they do a lot of stuff. They're -1 in takeaway or giveaway takeaway. The Steelers are +7.
These are traditionally two quarterbacks that don't turn it over much. We haven't seen Russell all year, but Rodgers has turned it over.
Yeah.
I actually think the biggest advantage the Steelers have, maybe it kind of has gone without saying all week, is Watt and Highsmith against their tackles.
Yeah.
I
mean we talked about that earlier in the week.
Yeah,
but
right.
Yeah, I think those guys, and honestly,
and really Cam against anyone else.
And Cam against anybody on their interior.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
They're okay, but he's great.
Yeah. He's playing maybe the best football of his career right now.
I think that's the Steelers' biggest advantage in this game.
Yeah.
Probably special teams is next.
Get the two old guys together in the backfield a couple of times.
Smashing, yeah.
Rodgers is the oldest player in the league. He'll be 42 in a couple of weeks here, I think.
I think his body's hurting.
And
it sure looked like it against Buffalo.
The way people talked about Cam Hayward in the offseason, you thought he was the oldest player in the league. He's not even in the top 10.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I mean, does that include kickers?
Kickers, specialists, there's a bunch of long snappers that are in their late 30s, but he's not even in the top 11. I looked it up last night. I'm like, where's he ranking? I'm like, he's not even on the list yet.
Okay. I do like that advantage.
He's playing really well.
He is. Oh, he's playing phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's been one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, so we'll see how it works out on Monday. We'll be back to talk about a Steeler win or a Steeler loss. Again, I'm with you. If the Steelers lose this game, there's going to be a certain segment of people out there who are going to say, "See, I told you so. They should have stuck with Justin Fields." Honestly, in this game, again, in this particular matchup, I'd rather go with the better passer.
I would too. That doesn't mean he's going to play great, or he might be the reason they lose. I don't have a crystal ball.
But I do think
the move I would make.
Down the road, you're going to need the better passer. Again, if you want to get past the Ravens, who have the #1 run defense in the league, you're going to have to be able to throw the football effectively.
Yeah. You're going to beat the Bills and the Chiefs and the teams you need to beat.
Yeah.
You can't be one-dimensional.
No, you can't be that team, and you're averaging 160 passing yards per game right now and change. This is what they set themselves up for. We'll see what Russell Wilson looks like in this game. I expect a quicker passing attack, maybe some quick slants and things of that. Who knows? I expect Jaylen Warren to be a factor out of the backfield.
Yeah.
He's really good. We kind of forget about that, but he's really good.
Yeah, I think he's been out of sight, out of mind.
And,
too.
I expect Freiermuth to be a little more involved this week, too. And the tight ends in general.
Yeah.
Just
the stable of them.
We haven't seen Michael Pruitt out there. And those first 2 games of the season when Michael Pruitt was out there, he was playing a lot.
No, he plays a lot. He was outsnapping Freiermuth at times and things like that. I mean, he does a lot of little things for them. He may not have a great stat line when it's all said and done, but he helps you win.
He's a good blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gives you 2+ blockers, I think, on the edges with him in Washington.
Yeah.
So
Washington's going to be important in this one, too.
Oh, I think so as well. That's going to do it for the show today, Matt.
Good week.
Absolutely. Again, we'll be back on Monday to wrap all this up and talk about that and moving forward and getting ready for the game against the New York Football Giants the following Monday night. Can't get enough of these night games. But
a lot of New York, too.
Yeah, we'll see the Steelers celebrate the 1974 championship team, a 50-year anniversary of that. So that'll be fun to see a lot of those guys coming back and enjoying the evening and getting a chance to relive some of those memories. I'll be doing the alumni dinner with Craig Wolfley.
Oh, that's cool, yeah.
We'll have a little radio show from that starting, I believe, from 5 to 7:30 on Saturday night, so you can tune into it.
Is that at AccuSure?
Yes,
Okay.
that is at AccuSure. So we'll get all the guys on there. They'll be bringing them over to us, and Teresa Varley does a great job with that. But for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, keeping us on the air and running the Justin Miller hotline, and for Tyler Vittmeyer here, making sure our video gets out there so you all can comment on the show and watch it and enjoy it and share it and do all that good stuff. I'm Dale Lolley. We appreciate you listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.